Hello, and welcome to Brand Clarity by Visions2Images, where we focus on strategy and business development for entrepreneurs at all different levels through branding and digital marketing techniques. Susie Liberatore is the founder and art director of Visions2Images Creative Services, LLC. For the last decade, she has personally been instrumental in bridging gaps between the global digital market and neighborhood locations for some of the biggest brands around. Growth is possible for even a single location with the right professional branding techniques and Susie's signature strategies of Visions2Images. Stand out from your competitors and bring your visions to life while watching your sales skyrocket. Your host for this is Susie Liberatore, owner of Visions2Images. Hello, everybody. Today I have Meg Casel on the podcast, and she's an SEO specialist. And what I found interesting, we met on LinkedIn, actually, and then I found out she's similar to my hometown area. So it's pretty interesting and neat to have somebody that's from the Rochester area. And she was like, before this, she's like, I saw you on Facebook.
It's funny. I think, there's this feeling like the internet is so big, but it's really not. If you're running in the same circles, especially in the kind of internet marketing space, we all eventually connect with each other.
Totally agree. I never knew you before the internet, so it's fun to have you on here. So yeah, I figured this was a good topic about SEO. As you know, the branding stuff is so important, but there's also that stuff when they do websites and content. It's so important. So I'm glad you're on.
Yeah, I'm really glad to be here. And I think that, sometimes when we talk about branding, we think a lot about messaging and positioning, and then also the visual elements. And we forget the part about what in my messaging is what people are looking for.
Yeah, totally.
And that's really how this fits together, is not just what are the words that I use to describe myself, which can be part of your branding, but also what are the words that other people would use to find me, making sure that those go into the language around the way that you promote yourself. Because, you can come up with the most clever job title, or you can use really great metaphors to explain what it is that you do. But if people don't necessarily know what exactly it is that you do, they can't find you for it. So instead of saying, I'm a YouTube wrangler, call yourself a video marketing coach, right? The clearer you can be clever. You can still be clever sometimes, right? But the clearer you can be, the easier it is for other people to really understand you and trust you.
So tell me how you got started in this field. Tell me how you became SEO.
Sure. So I spent a decade doing communications, mostly for nonprofits and small businesses throughout upstate New York, actually, and the Boston area too. And then when I got married, I got pregnant, and I was like, oh, I can't really afford to stay in this job and have childcare.
Totally.
A lot of people in that position. Way to go, America. And so I started my own business at that point. And because I'd been working in the kind of communication, fundraising, marketing space for so long, it made sense for me to start building websites. And so I had a web design studio doing some branding, social media graphics, print graphics, you name it, I could do it. And I would build a lot of WordPress websites for small businesses. And that was kind of my tagline, WordPress websites for small businesses. And as I would, publish the websites, launch the websites, my clients would say, wow, this is really beautiful. This really gets to my messaging. Where are the new clients?
Right.
And I would say, well, we talked about your colors. We talked about your messaging. We didn't talk about your search strategy.
Right.
There was sort of this implication that it would be included, but it was never overtly decided upon. But I didn't want my clients to feel bad about investing with me and not getting the results they expected. So I started teaching myself, what are the things that I, as a designer, as somebody building out these WordPress websites, what are the things that I can do to set them up for that new client lead gen that they wanted? And the more that I learned about SEO, which is basically, how to improve your website to get more Google search traffic to it, is the short answer to what it is. I reached out to a couple of my other friends who are web designers and said, like, how do you find the time to learn the SEO and keep up with best practices and also be able to build the websites and have time to work with the clients? Like, how do you stay on top of both? And my friends were like, it's too hard to do
Oh.
both.
Mhm.
You can't be great at everything. And so I specialized, and for a while, I was a web designer who did SEO as part of my marketing. And then after a while, it just became SEO because I didn't have the time or the resources to also know what was popular and trending. I could either learn keyword research and teach that, or I could learn parallax and CSS, and all of the design side
Right.
of things. And then my business evolved where the designers that I had been in these relationships with were now hiring me to do the SEO for their websites as a subcontractor. And
Mhm.
then I developed a reputation for, working with content agencies, figuring out what the content should be that their clients should write and create, blog posts, videos, podcast episodes, things along those lines in order to get more traffic to their clients' websites. And then I started working directly with people to come up with content strategies. And it really just was this slow, steady evolution of getting better and teaching better and helping more people with showing up in those Google search results and explaining it in a way that actually sounded like human language.
I love it. Yes, and I think that it's ever changing in a sense, like, I love how you said it's ever changing. Like, I feel like there's so many times that we're always adapting, right? Like, with websites, there's always stuff changing. Like, back when I went to college, and I'm gonna sound old, but I'm really not old, but back when I went to college, we had to hand code websites and had hand code responsive websites for mobile. We had to do that,
Mhm.
and it was like, whew, and now we don't have to do it as much. I mean, you might need to do it a little bit to tweak some stuff, but you don't have to hand code it like that. And so it's like there's always these ever changing things going on in everything, the Facebook, the SEO, websites, always ever changing. And that's what kind of makes it fun and exciting. Sometimes, not always, but a lot of times it helps it because we got to keep on our toes on how to fix things. And then the other thing I like how you said is the expert in everything. Yeah, I mean, I told you before, I'm not an SEO person. I could probably do a little bit here and there, but it's not going to give the results that they need. I outsource that for sure, 100%, and have people.
And it's kind of boring. A lot of
Right,
people don't want to learn how to do
I
SEO, and I
know.
don't blame them.
I wouldn't. No, I mean, I would not want to learn it. I would not. I mean, I outsource it. Period. Like, I focus on the design and the client retention of what fulfills in the branding field. I focus on the branding consistency and how they can show up, whether that is through SEO, content, visuals, all the things that kind of come together. So yeah, I don't ever say, "Oh, I could do SEO and I'm a specialist in it." Like, we have to know our boundaries no matter what we're doing when it comes to our career.
Exactly. There's a reason the phrase is jack of all trades, master of none. If you're trying to be the best you can at every possible thing, then you're going to drop some balls. Whereas if you can really specialize, and I think also, and this may come down to some of the things that you've said before about branding, which is like, if you can be found for one thing that you do the best out there, then it will be so much easier for you to get and retain clients because you're known for that specialization. Whereas if you're trying to do all the things, it can be really difficult to be found for any of those things.
Mhm.
And I
Oh,
think the same is true for people's websites. If you can say, I do this thing really well, you double down on it, you create really great content, you're super clear about what you do, Google will say, oh, Susie is the branding person. She's the one that we should send for questions about these specific
right.
topics.
Totally.
But if you're trying to be found for all things digital marketing, then you would then have to create depths and dozens and hundreds of posts about Facebook and Instagram and social media and referral traffic and guest posting and podcasting. And if it would be impossible to be top for all of those things.
I agree. And sometimes people are like, "Do you do YouTube or videos?" And I'm like, "No." Like, I have to draw a line somewhere, like you said. Yes. Like, and I could do photography, but do I want to? No. I like doing photography as a hobby. I have a great camera and all of that, but I'm not going to go out and do headshots for the teams and stuff. Like, that's just not me, and I don't want to do that. So I'd rather
Right.
give it to somebody who has that passion and can fulfill that need rather than making somebody upset or unhappy or wasting my time when I could be working on the stuff that makes my clients happy.
I totally agree.
What are you most excited about right now?
I just started a YouTube channel.
Oh, that is exciting.
It is exciting and it's really fun because like Google owns YouTube, so I feel like I'm really understanding how Google and YouTube play nicely together. And I've been doing YouTube strategy for people for a long time because the keyword research is like there's some correlations in terms of what people look for on Google and what people look for on YouTube, and some of the tools have similar overlapping data that you can pull from. And so like knowing that what you create on your website and what you create in YouTube can kind of cross pollinate each other is fun, but now I get to play with it in my own business. And I feel also very strongly that the more you create, the more you can be found for it on multiple channels. So now I get to play with promoting my own videos, which is really kind of fun and different than just a written blog post.
Totally. Well, and you can always, yeah, you can use that video so many ways and you can repurpose it. Like that's huge. I love being able to repurpose in so many ways, whether you start at YouTube and then you go to the blog post and then you go on social. It's just so much stuff that you can do with that. That's awesome though that you started that.
Yeah, so exactly what you said, where like I start with the video and then I create the blog, I get the transcription, then turn it into something that is more fun to read than just the transcription,
Right.
and then make sure that I link through to all of my other content around it, whether that's putting the cards on the YouTube channel or putting the links in the blog post and then pulling snippets of it and turning it into an Instagram story and posting the video on LinkedIn and then turning pins into it and pinning so that way people can find it on to the blog post, to the YouTube video, to all the it's like it becomes I spend 20 minutes recording a video
Right.
and it becomes a month worth of content across
Totally.
all these platforms because nobody's looking at everything in one place. So it's just so powerful. And because these things that I'm creating, these assets are optimized for search, it's like people, even though the video that I put up last week is a week old, people can now find it for the next 10 years. It doesn't expire the way that, Instagram stories are built to expire.
I know, so true, yes. And I mean, even with podcasts like this and stuff, like you can repurpose it and it stays on forever, like you said. Whereas Instagram stories, Facebook stories, all that, and even sometimes like LinkedIn posts or any post can like disappear down towards the bottom as time and stuff goes on. That's why it's so important. I always like share old blog posts, just keep sharing them as much as you can, even though they might be old and down farther in the line. That's what kind of helps it show up more.
Exactly. And if you feel like, oh, but I'm saying the same thing everywhere.
No.
Yeah, but people aren't paying as close attention to you as you think they
No.
are. And, somebody may, you may have shared something on Facebook along, 5 years ago. And guess how many people from your audience aren't still there that were there 5 years ago? They haven't seen it. Let them see what you created. Don't just let things go live in a content graveyard.
Mhm.
Use it, repurpose it. And then and I mean, here's where I'll get a little nerdy too. You can go in and take a look at what am I actually getting traffic for these
Totally.
things? What am I ranking for these things? And then either create some new content, update what you've already done. Like there are so many ways to make your content work for you to bring in ideal clients that are much more sustainable than just posting on social all the time.
I love it. That's so interesting. Hey, let's stop for just 1 second during this podcast episode. I know you're so excited to get back and listen, but I wanted to chat with you and talk about how we really work with businesses. What we really do is we dive in and we ask so many questions. We go through a series of questionnaires and extensive research to really help you get a clear, identifiable plan of action that needs to happen for your business. If you want to hear more about this, go to visions2images.com, click the contact us button, and we will be happy to set up a time to chat more. So tell me, what is one advice you would give somebody about SEO? If they could go do something today, what would you tell them?
Okay, I have three, but I'll
Okay.
make it quick.
All right.
One, install Google Analytics on your website. Google Analytics will tell you when people get to your website, what they actually do when they get there. And even if you don't look at your analytics right away, please install it so that way you have that historical context. You can go back in time in 6 months or a year and say, where have people been coming from this entire time? So start the tracking on your analytic. Number two, once you have your Google Analytics installed, you can also install another free tool called Google Search Console, and that will tell you what you're already ranking for. Often people have search traffic coming to their website and they don't know what people are actually searching for. Sometimes it's your name.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's your brand name, and that's totally cool. We want people to go to Google. Maybe they can't remember if the 2 in your name is TO or the number 2, right? So they're going to go, they're going to look up your name, they're going to get to your website.
Mhm.
But there may also be people looking for branding coach or brand strategy, and you want to use those words on your website. You want to use them in your copy. You want to make sure that people are finding you for the right things. Sometimes they're finding you for things that you don't want to be found for, and you want to take those words off your website. So becoming aware of what people are already finding you for, what your website's already ranking for. And
Okay.
then number 3, thinking of every piece of content that you put out, or everything that you publish on your website can be searched.
Mhm.
So knowing that you can be found for infinite number of things is such an important and valuable insight, that you don't have to start everything from scratch all the time. Every page that you create, every video that you create, every podcast that you can create can be found for something new. You don't have to put the same words over and over again.
Hmm. Interesting.
I see
So
the wheels turning.
yeah, for sure. No, I'm thinking. I've heard before that you should always like update your blog post or anything on your pages, like content wise for SEO purposes. Is that true?
Yeah, Google prefers newer content, but also the longer that something has lived on your website, the more authority it has. So if you have a blog post that you've already written and you have some sort of update to it, it's better to update an old blog post than to create a new one, because then you're showing that there's something new that happened in that space.
So what do you typically update on that blog post? Like, I don't even know. Like, would you just update keywords? Like, I don't even know. Tell me.
Yeah, sometimes it's as easy as I just change the title.
Really? Okay.
I actually have a video coming out in a couple of weeks where it's like, once you have this information, how do you use it? What do you actually update? And, I had a client that I worked with where he had keywords that weren't in the right places on his website, and we went and updated them and just changed the title of the blog post. And within a month, he'd tripled his traffic to that blog post without changing any words in the actual blog post. So sometimes just making these little tweaks and adjustments can make a huge difference in the quantity of people finding you, and also making sure that the words that you're choosing for your keywords are in alignment with your brand and in alignment with the people that you want to find you, that you're not just creating based on, oh, this is an easy keyword to rank for,
Mhm.
but this is a problem that my brand solves for people.
Mm.
This is a solution that we have. This is something that people need that I can provide for them. Becoming aware of what your customer journey is and creating content that's empathetic to their needs will then help you show up in those searches. So it's very much a strategic planning type of thing that goes along with your
Yeah,
messages.
it seems like you have a lot of knowledge with that, of course. I mean, not that I don't know enough to not, I don't know enough about SEO, but it sounds like you know a lot of things and know how to really help and get searchable on a lot of different things.
Yeah, and also remembering that not everything on your website has to show up in Google results. There may be things that you create so that way people can find you. And then if you have more of a thought leadership piece or something that is more of your philosophy, you don't have to worry about getting keywords into specific places on that. You can get people into the more kind of how-to tutorial posts and then drive them to the posts that are more central
Mm.
to your brand strategy or your brand alignment. So coming up with different places that people can enter your website, knowing that, when you are posting on social media, you're meeting someone at a networking event,
Mhm.
typically those people will come to your homepage.
Yep.
But if you're creating content thinking about SEO, typically people will come into a blog post or something along those lines. So knowing that every page on your site can be a landing page and treating every page like it could be the first experience that somebody has with you
I
can
like
be
that.
a
Yeah,
different mindset shift. Yeah.
I like that. And what is your business name? That just triggered my mind.
My business name is Love at First Search.
I know. I love it. That's so creative and fits it. I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, I love it. So where can people find you?
Perfect transition. They can find me at loveatfirstsearch.com. If you want to come over to loveatfirstsearch.com, you can grab an SEO starter kit, and that will get you started with how to start to think about these phrases that people might be looking for, where to go on their websites. And from there, you can also click through to my YouTube channel. If you're a YouTube watcher, I have a free Facebook group. We have lots of different ways to
Awesome.
connect. So,
Oh my gosh, yes, totally.
yeah,
Well, thank you so much for being on here and letting me pick your brain a little bit. We appreciate it.
it was so much fun. Thanks for having me, Susie.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening in on this episode today. Please make sure to check out the links from your guest and Visions to Images to learn more about each other. It takes a village, as you know, so connect and grow with one another together. Thank you so much for listening.